St. Petersburg wasn't just hosting a boxing event on October 6, 2025. It was staging a homecoming. The crowd inside the arena carried a low hum of expectation, the kind that only comes when a local fighter steps into the ring with something to prove. Nikita Kuzmin wasn't just debuting on the IBA.PRO stage. He was returning to time itself. A southpaw pressure fighter with a perfect professional record, Kuzmin entered the ring knowing that every second mattered. Time had already been taken from him once. Now he was here to reclaim it. Across from him stood Nekruz Salimov, taller, longer, and decorated by the amateur system, a technician shaped by tournaments, medals, and structure. On paper, this looked like a chess match between two young, gifted boxers. In reality, it would become something far more unforgiving. 8 rounds were scheduled. 6 would be enough. As the music faded and the gloves touched, Kuzmin's eyes never left his opponent. No nervous energy. No wasted movement. This wasn't a man looking to win a fight. This was a man looking to establish control. Salimov, calm behind a high guard, trusted patience, timing, and his pedigree. He believed the fight would come to him. Kuzmin believed the opposite, that the fight had to be taken. When the bell rang, St. Petersburg leaned forward, and the first step of the execution quietly began.
From the opening seconds, the contrast in philosophy became obvious. Salimov stood tall, compact behind his guard, measuring distance and waiting for mistakes. Kuzmin did not wait. He probed. The jab wasn't thrown for damage. It was thrown for information. Each touch told him where Salimov's weight sat, how quickly his hands returned home, how stiff his reactions were under pressure. Kuzmin circled just outside the longer man's reach, stepping in with sudden half-steps that disrupted timing without fully committing. Then came the first signal, a sharp left hand into the body. Not loud, not dramatic, but deliberate. Body shots don't announce themselves, they whisper warnings. Salimov responded with a clean counter, a reminder of his class, but Kuzmin absorbed it without hesitation. This wasn't reckless pressure, this was calculated erosion. Every exchange ended with Kuzmin firing last, even if only with a light touch. That matters. Judges notice it. Fighters feel it. By the midpoint of the first round, Salimov had already begun to reset more often than he wanted. Kuzmin, shorter and stockier, turned that into an advantage, slipping under shots and reappearing at angles that denied Salimov the space he needed to unfold his long punches. The crowd began to react not to power, but to rhythm, Kuzmin's rhythm. When the bell ended the round, there was no visible damage on either fighter, but the momentum had quietly chosen a side. The executioner didn't rush. He measured, and the first calculation was complete. Round 2 revealed something important. Kuzmin had already solved the entry problem. He no longer needed to feel his way inside. He knew. The jab became sharper, doubling and even tripling to draw Salimov's guard high. Then the left hand dipped downstairs again, thudding just above the belt line. This wasn't about pain yet, it was about taxation. Salimov tried to answer, but his counters came a half-second late, arriving after Kuzmin had already slipped out at an angle. A half-second began to define the fight. Every time Salimov hesitated, Kuzmin advanced. Every time Salimov set his feet, Kuzmin changed levels. The amateur pedigree showed in Salimov's discipline. He never panicked, never opened up wildly, but discipline without adaptation becomes predictability. Kuzmin read that predictability like a book he'd already studied. Hooks started to sneak around the guard. Uppercuts brushed through the center when Salimov leaned forward. The executioner's confidence grew visibly. His shoulders loosened. His feet danced between moments of stillness. This wasn't brute force. This was ring education happening in real time. The crowd sensed it. The noise rose not from single shots, but from sequences, combinations that landed, pivoted, and vanished. By the end of the round, Kuzmin's authority was unmistakable. Salimov wasn't losing because he lacked skill. He was losing because he couldn't impose it. And in professional boxing, that difference grows heavier with every minute. For the third round, the fight entered a dangerous territory for Salimov, the space between confidence and confusion. Kuzmin now occupied the center of the ring with ease, subtly dictating where exchanges took place. Salimov's peekaboo guard, once a shield, became a trap. Each time he shelled up, Kuzmin attacked the body, forcing the elbows down. Each time the elbows dropped, Kuzmin snapped shots upstairs. It was a simple formula executed with frightening consistency. Salimov tried to adjust by holding his ground, but standing still against a pressure fighter who understands angles is a costly mistake. Kuzmin dipped, weaved, and fired, never loading up, never giving Salimov the counter windows he needed. A clean left hand through the middle snapped Salimov's head back, not enough to drop him, but enough to send a message. The crowd felt it. Salimov felt it. The amateur system prepares you for sprints. This was becoming a marathon. Kuzmin's bodywork began to pay dividends. Salimov's feet slowed, his reactions dulled just enough to matter. Exchanges now ended with Kuzmin landing 2 or 3 shots before Salimov could answer with one. When the bell rang, the visual damage was still minimal, but the emotional weight had shifted. Salimov walked back to his corner thinking. Kuzmin walked back knowing. The executioner didn't rush the ending, he was building it. Round 4 demanded adaptation, and Salimov couldn't find it. His corner needed urgency, roughness, disruption, but in the ring he continued to search for clean counters that never fully materialized. Kuzmin sensed it immediately. The pace didn't spike recklessly, it tightened. Pressure became suffocating rather than explosive. Kuzmin cut off escape routes, stepping laterally instead of straight ahead, forcing Salimov toward the ropes where height becomes irrelevant and angles decide everything. Right hook under the elbow landed clean. A short uppercut followed. Salimov clinched for the first time not out of strategy but necessity. The referee separated them and Kuzmin went straight back to work. This round told the story of the fight, Salimov reacting, Kuzmin acting. Every feint drew a response. Every response opened a door. The crowd, once hopeful for a competitive duel, now buzzed with anticipation of something decisive. Kuzmin wasn't reckless, he was surgical. Even when he missed, he positioned himself to fire again. Salimov's punches, by contrast, came singular, isolated, and increasingly desperate. The bell ended the round, but the gap widened further. If the first 2 rounds established control, the next 2 enforced it, and by now the execution was no longer symbolic. 5th round cracked the fight open. Kuzmin came forward with intent sharpened by patience. A tight uppercut landed inside, followed by a short right hand over the top. Salimov's knees dipped just slightly, but in boxing, slightly is everything. The delayed reaction told the truth before the body did. Salimov stumbled, and while the referee ruled it a slip, the message was clear. The damage had crossed from accumulation to consequence. Kuzmin pounced, attacking the body with renewed focus, dragging Salimov into exchanges he could no longer manage cleanly. Clinches followed, not tactical but survival-driven. The mouthpiece came loose, then loose again, each stoppage a silent confession. Kuzmin recognized it instantly. He stayed close, punching in bursts, forcing Salimov to work every second. This was professional pressure at its coldest. Salimov wasn't hurt enough to quit, but hurt enough to lose hope. That space is dangerous. Kuzmin walked him down, pinning him to the ropes, throwing combinations like a heavy bag drill brought to life. Hooks, uppercuts, body shots, nothing flashy, everything effective. When the round ended, Salimov returned to his corner breathing hard, eyes unfocused. The executioner didn't celebrate. He simply waited. The job wasn't finished yet. By the 6th round, mercy became a talking point. The fight, originally scheduled for 8, was now reduced to 6, a quiet acknowledgement of what everyone could see. Salimov fought on courage alone. His skills hadn't vanished, but they were buried under fatigue, pressure, and unanswered questions. Kuzmin continued to apply intelligent violence, never reckless, never wild. Another clean shot dislodged the mouthpiece, leading to point deduction, a small administrative detail in a fight already decided by dominance. Still, Kuzmin refused to coast. He worked the body relentlessly, forcing Salimov to guard low, then snapped shots upstairs when the opening appeared. Salimov tried to rally, throwing a rare right hand, but Kuzmin slipped and answered immediately. That sequence summed up the night. One man tried, the other imposed. As the final seconds ticked away, Salimov clinched again, buying time, buying survival. When the final bell rang, relief washed over him. For Kuzmin, it was affirmation. He raised his hands not in celebration, but acknowledgement. The execution was complete. Decision was a formality, unanimous, wide, deserved. Nikita Kuzmin had dominated from the opening bell to the last. The crowd responded not with surprise but approval. They had witnessed something rare, a complete professional performance built on discipline, pressure, and intelligence. Salimov, though defeated, earned respect for his resilience. Not every loss destroys a fighter. Some reveal where growth must occur. For Salimov, this was one of those nights. For Kuzmin, it was a statement. This wasn't just a win. It was a reminder that opportunity meets preparation violently in boxing. His time away from the ring had forged urgency. His style had evolved. And on this night in his city, he announced himself not as a prospect, but as a problem. Analysts would later point to small details, the angles, the body shots, the punch selection, but the truth was simpler. Kuzmin never allowed Salimov to become comfortable. Comfort is oxygen in boxing. Without it, even the most skilled fighters suffocate. Every round, Kuzmin stole something: timing, confidence, space, breath. By the end, there was nothing left to steal. This was how professional boxing is supposed to look when done correctly. As Kuzmin exited the ring, applause followed him into the tunnel. Not because he knocked someone out, but because he broke someone down. That distinction matters. Power ends fights. Pressure defines careers. On October 6, 2025 at IBA.PRO 10, Nikita Kuzmin showed exactly what kind of fighter he intended to be. The executioner didn't swing wildly. He calculated. And when the moment came, he finished the job with precision.